Hello? Hello? Are we live? I think so. Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday night again. Woo! I hope you can all hear me, because according to my computer, it's ticking away 21 seconds. We're live. Anyway, who have we got? I'm going to reel off a few things because I've got a few things to say today. Dan Pullin, hang on a minute. I think, I'm going to bring the mouse. So I've got one of these like Bluetooth mice. So I could bring the mouse over here. I haven't got to keep walking over to the computer. There you go. Hi, Dan. First live chat, tune in. Well, that's very good of you, Dan. Thanks for joining. Unfortunately, Monica's not here today, so that was last week. But I'll try and get around again for another time. But for tonight, I'm on my own, so you're just going to have to suffer me. But thanks for joining. Andy V, hi Andy. How are we doing? If you put the chat on slow-mo, I have no idea how to do that. I'm not that technically in sort of like knowing what to. I'll have to check that one out. I don't even know how to do that here. There's a whole load of different. Is that a knock at the door? I think there's someone at the door. That's good timing, isn't it? Stevie Neese. Hi, Steve. You should generate a wave of viewers for Wednesday nights if you keep this. I do intend keeping this going every Wednesday because it gives me like a Wednesday night to sort of like just talk about anything. Doesn't even have to be about cars. It's better than sitting down because I wouldn't be normally doing anything anyway.
Who's at the door?
I've no idea who's at the door. Have a look out the window.
There's no one there.
Oh, that's all right then. Lars Gunner. Hi, Lars. How are you? I'm just going to Thunderbee Free Martin. Hi from Czech Republic. It's a pity Monica isn't here tonight because she's from Czech Republic, but you probably know that. How are you doing? Well, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you for asking. Thanks for the bids. They helped me repair some parts of my car. I do not own a Mondeo, but I still have a few problems to solve. That's cars for you. There's never ending. There'll always be something going wrong. My mate come down the other day. He's just going on holiday, and one of his brakes decided to bloody well seize on the day he's going away. Flipping typical. Barry, if you do listen to this, that's you. And talking of seized brakes, I just want to because this is a brand new one to me. Mark V Mondeo. We've had occasionally the rear electronic brake calipers. They've got electronic parking brake, and we've had a few of them where they start to seize. The piston starts to seize, so we just replace the caliper. I will say at the moment, things are getting hard to come by. There seems to be sort of like a bit of a supply and demand problem. But anyway, this particular car, it was taxi. It was over St Neots. We're to go out to it because the car was stuck in this petrol station, like parked up. The passenger rear caliper was literally on and you couldn't get it off. It was like it was seized on. So I literally had to unbolt the two Allen key bolts from the caliper, get a big pry bar and a hammer and smash the bloody pry bar into the caliper just to prise it off the brake disc, and it was tough. It was pretty hard getting it off. And I thought, well, the caliper's sort of like taking a shit or in the on position. Of course, we got it on the trailer after we got the caliper off, got it back to the garage, put another caliper on it, and there's no power going to the caliper. And this is a brand new one. So we thought, well, we've never had this problem before. The handbrake works perfectly fine electrically on the driver's side, but not on the passenger side. We haven't solved this problem yet. But apparently, from what we figured out, the actual electronic parking brake on these Mark V Mondeos, the control unit is in the ABS unit, the ABS ECU. And we've checked all our wiring at the back, and we believe that the ABS ECU is not sending a signal out to the passenger rear caliper. But what I'll do is, I'll keep you updated on that one, because we haven't got to the actual point of getting to the ABS unit, because it's buried under the battery, and we've had so many other cars in the way at the minute, we put it to one side. But that's one for the future. I might even do a video on it if I can get around to it. Anyway, I shall carry on. Kevin Ruff, hi Kevin. Good evening. From Sawtree. Whoa, what do you think you might buy when it's time to replace your Mercedes Vito? Well, that's assuming the government haven't priced me out of buying a vehicle at all. I might just get a bus season pass. I do like to joke about that. I have no idea. I actually probably would go out and buy not a brand new, but I would buy quite a new, the later type Vito, the newer shape. I quite like them. But the thing is, I can't really justify it, because it's like I don't really go anywhere. So it's like a nice flashy vehicle of any description is totally wasted on me. I've got no one to impress with a car. All I do is I get up and I go to work and then come back home again, and that's about it. It's like I may go out for a trip, like a bloody seaside or something, a couple of times a year. When I go away, I want to get on a plane, but it's like I don't know. I'd probably get another van, but it'd be a waste of money, because I wouldn't really use it to its potential. I should get another van and use it for like doing extra work, like delivering shit and stuff. Maybe become an Amazon driver. Finn Hogan, how are you, Finn? How are you doing? Love the videos. Thank you, Finn. It's Wednesday night. We're always doing good on a Wednesday night, because Wednesdays are the boring middle of the week. So we've got to exciting it up a little bit. Goldberg versus Benoit. How are you doing? How would you remove a stripped out internal Torx bolt that's holding on a camshaft on a Vauxhall Astra engine without snapping the camshaft? That would be really difficult. You'd probably need a really good drill bit. I mean, if you can find a drill bit, them cheap ones ain't going to do it. It'll just blunt them. I've even heard that using masonry bits, if you can get the right, can actually go into metal. If you can't drill nothing into it, then the problem is you've got to be able to drill a hole in it. You've got to be able to drill a hole through the snap bolt, and then you've got a whole array of different things you can use. I mean, some things we have, the little bars about so long, and they've got like slots in them. And you bang these bars into the hole you've just drilled, and then you put nuts on the end of this bar, and then you can undo it and pull it out. It depends how tight the actual bit of thread that snaps off is. Sometimes you can be lucky. You can use a little pin punch and just tap it, and it might be loose and it might spin out. But it's not going to be easy. And when the worst case scenario is going to be to get another camshaft, even if you can find a good second-hand one, because I know new camshafts are not cheap. So sometimes these things can take a lot of time and effort. But yeah, that's how I'd do it. I would try and drill a hole in it to start with, and if I couldn't do it, and if all else fails, you'll just go through a whole list of different things. If all else fails, get another camshaft. Hi, Steve. By the way, I was going to bring this up tonight because you sent me an email. I guess a lot of you out there watch Harry's Garage, because he's a big channel, and he's put out loads of brilliant stuff. He was talking about. I've left the link in the description to his video. I watched it this morning, and it's something I haven't really thought about or even heard about in the news or anything. But you know, with all this, everything's going electric, save the planet, climate alarmists and all this. Elon Musk, with all his Teslas and his battery operated cars, he's made a bloody fortune. All these car manufacturers seem to be going electric now, hybrids and electric. They're all pushing this one narrative. But if you go to this video, you'll see that JCB have a problem there because their machines are massive. Big diggers, earth excavators, that go in quarries and mines, and, massive big machines that have to be working like 10, 12, 18 hours a day. They're saying they can't have a machine with 8 tons worth of battery on it that's going to last 5-6 hours and then have it plugged in for God knows how many more hours while it's sat idle. So the concept of electric vehicles and electric batteries is not really working for them. I mean, I guess the average cars, it's all going because it's like carbon neutral. Clean emissions is what they're all aiming for. But it's all very well and well. My personal feelings on these electric vehicles, it's all very well and good for cars at the moment. It's a bit of a novel thing at the minute. But if you're the kind of person that don't really know anything about cars and you think, well, here's an electric car, I could buy that, I can I do my little run around town, do my shopping, and it all works for me. I can plug it in and then go out on my next day and do my next little run. That's not going to work for everybody because a lot of people are on the road all the time, a lot of hours per day. And it's going to be a bit of a headache. I know the batteries in these cars, they have got, from the first ones that come out, they're a lot better now. They've got a much better range, but there still isn't the infrastructure there, the charging points. And it's kind of like, at this moment in time, it's going to be a headache, always thinking in the back of your mind, where's my charging point? When I get to here, when I get to there. Whereas at the moment, with a petrol engine, you can just go to any petrol station, they're all over the place. And I just get this feeling that when there's more and more of these electric cars, I just can't see it working when you've got so many cars. If you can imagine all the cars on the road now, if they were all electric, half of them are going to be parked up half the time, all charging in or queuing up to be charged up. But this JCB's idea, they seem to be a very, very clever bunch there, because they've taken the concept of hydrogen, not hydrogen fuel cells, but actually hydrogen, which you would put into a tank in your car, like a normal fuel tank, which is built obviously for hydrogen, and they're running their JCBs on hydrogen. They're using an internal combustion engine powered by hydrogen fuel, which they say is bringing out zero emissions. And if you think about that, you've got all these mechanics all over the world that know what an internal combustion engine is. They know how to work on them. It isn't going to take a bloody genius to work out how to fix a hydrogen powered car, is it? Because it's going to basically be the same engine with a few differences on it. So the technology is already there. Hydrogen is nothing new. It's been around for a bloody beginning of time, hasn't it? So it's like, I think they're right. I actually think that if that's bringing out zero emissions, that is a much better way to go than electric. And it'll work in cars. I mean, you're talking about big. I mean, they're talking about big plant machinery, stuff like that. But you think about all the lorries, all the freight lorries. Do you think electric batteries are going to make them run? I don't think so. I think it's electric is going to be a big problem. It might be all right for the person just running around town and going here and there, but for the masses of people, I can't see this electric working. And you also think about that they say that the batteries in these electric cars are sort of like they're going to come down in price. Can you imagine when they start really stepping up production, that the batteries are going to come down in price? They've got a mine for the, what is it, lithium that make these batteries? These are precious metals that have to be dug into the ground to find. They have to be mined, all these metals. And all these batteries, when they die, and they're not going to last forever. I don't know how long a battery lasts in an electric car. I should think it lasts a pretty long while, but at some point, that battery is going to start to lose its efficiency, and eventually it's going to die, and it's going to need replacing, which I think at that point, in most cases, would just scrap the car. So, but anyway, if anybody wants to see that Harry's Garage thing, if you haven't seen it, it's well worth a watch. It's very interesting. He has very good conversations with people at this JCB plant. Anyway, let me crack on. Oh, I've lost my place now. Hi, Ivan. By the way, can I just say, Ivan popped down the garage the other day. Guess what? I'm not actually hungry at the minute, but Ivan dropped off some treats for me and Monica. Monica's got the other 2 boxes of these. So she's probably sat at home tonight eating them. But these are actually quite nice. Wafers with chocolate. And these are like little chocolate biscuits. But thank you very much, Ivan. And actually, thank you very much for stopping by. I actually like it when people actually drop by and say hello. And you get to meet people. In actual fact, you were the 3rd person that day. It was like, it must have been a sort of like a YouTube day, Monday, I think it was. But thank you very much for stopping by, Ivan. So I weren't really busy. I wasn't actually that busy on me. I think you popped by just at the right time. Hope you like the tea goddies and hope to come in better time. Yeah, well, the next time you pop in, we'll sort that. If you get that engine mount, we'll fix that for you. We'll pop it on for you. So, but yeah, no, you didn't stop it. You didn't come in at the wrong time. It was the perfect time. So that was great, and it's lovely to meet you as well. But my mouse is playing up. Hi, Steve. Only if there are a lot of folk with the 140-ish that Alan gets, very little difference. Russ Castile, howdy, how are you doing? Nomadic Mechanic, hi, Nomadic Mechanic. He's saying evening to everybody. Mondo, daft as a brush. Good evening, Mondo. How are you? It's that time again. Stefan Allen. Hi, Stefan. How has your week been so far? Do you really want to know? Monday, I had a clutch and flywheel on a Mark V Mondeo. Tuesday, I've had a clutch and flywheel on a Mark V Mondeo. Today, I've had... This is an interesting one. I know I've banged on and I've made some videos about the timing chains on these Mark V Mondeos, how the tensioner, the little plastic guides, break off and disintegrate, and then the chain is slack and really noisy. This particular car, it's done 198,000 miles, but it didn't sound the normal sound I get with a slack chain and a knackered tensioner. It was kind of like the whole top end of the engine was rattly and tackety and noisy and God knows what. And every time you revved it, there was like a slappy chain noise. And I thought, at that mileage, it's going to have the cam belt done. So I might as well just take the whole top off of the engine and just put another chain on it. And I imagine that the tensioner was going to be screwed anyway. But as I took the top cover off the engine, the tensioner looked perfectly fine. I couldn't fault it. The only thing I could see that was wrong was if I got a little pick, I could get hold of the chain and there was a little bit of slap in it. And I thought, oh, there's not really much wrong here. So I took the camshafts out. I checked all the tappets, all the rockers, and everything looked good. There was nothing worn out like I've seen a lot of them rockers that are really badly worn out. I couldn't see anywhere. It looked a very clean engine. And I thought, what the hell's making this bloody rattle sound? So I thought, well, at 200,000, I might as well change the chain anyway. Put a new chain on it and bolted it all back down. But before I put the plastic cover on top of the engine to cover the chain, there's a little like screw that you turn to release the chain tensioner. But before I even released the tensioner, the chain was tight. It was tighter than the chain that I've just took off. And when I released the tensioner, the chain was like proper tight. So I did know at that point that the chain on that engine was a little bit slack. Even though the tensioner looks perfectly fine and the plastic guides are perfectly fine, it was slack. So anyway, I put it all back together, thinking, is it going to sound any better? Because I'm telling you, it sounded horrible. It sounded like it was going to take a dump, this engine. Didn't sound bloody good at all. But what I did do, which I don't do anymore, so I don't think you have to do this so much, but I checked the recoding of all 4 injectors, all the numbers on them. And I recoded all 4 injectors again, reset the pilot and fuel quantity for each injector, and reset the high pressure fuel system. Started it up, and it was like I'm telling you, it was like a brand new car. I couldn't bloody believe it. It was running as sweet as a nut. So if I could have done a cartwheel across the workshop floor, I would have done, because it was like, that was a good result. But that's been my week. 2 clutches and a timing chain. And about 50 cups of tea in between. Gary Outlaw. Hi, Gary. How are you? Vivian Hughes. Hi, Vivian. Greetings from Lincolnshire. My 05 Mondeo 1.8 petrol, still great. That's good. As long as it's not costing you money. 40 miles per gallon on a run. Thanks for all your videos. Really enjoyed them. Well, thank you very much. I will try to make some more videos in the future when I'm not too busy. Andy V. Hi, Andy. How are you? And Andy Karish. Good evening, Andy. From a sunny Isle of Man. Blimey. Nice. In fact, I know somebody else who actually lives on the Isle of Man. That's got to be a good place to live. Plenty of fresh air and sea spray. Sean Oliver, hi Sean. Good Wednesday to you. I hope you had a great week. Yep, it's going okay actually. Despite all the big, I don't actually mind doing all the big shitty jobs because it means I haven't got to do with nothing else. I can just hide in a corner and just tick away at doing what I'm doing. It's not actually too stressful. Roskittil, oh, you fooled me with the 2 chairs. I've got my swivel bar stool, which reminds me, and I've got the gaming chair here, which is actually holding the microphone. There we go. I thought that's tactical thinking. If I've got the microphone closer to me, then I haven't got to keep coming over here to speak. And by the way, now I've mentioned bar stool, it's that time again. YouTube can't see what flavour beer this is because they don't like it. So I'm gonna pour a drink. If I can get the bloody, there we go. I should be drinking a bottle of water, but you know what? Stuff it. We're gonna have beer on these live streams. Everything that's bad for you. That's Beck's. It's I quite like that. Anyway, where was I? Jussie Tenuman. Hi, Jussie. Finland. Wow. I asked last time, do your company sell parts for Ford? But I missed. Do your company sell parts for Ford? No. No, we don't. All we have is what's called Ford Impress stock. Ford supply us all the parts which we use on the taxis, and then they bill us for them. Well, they supply the bits, bill us for them, and once we've used them, they'll come in and restock. It's like they're doing their own stock take on in our garage, but we don't actually sell Ford parts. No, if we want Ford parts, we have to go and buy them ourselves, or get second-hand bits off eBay or something like that. Luke, hi Luke. Should I get a Ford KA Mark 1 as my first car? It would have to be a bloody good one, because the Mark 1 KAs, they just rotted out. Absolutely, I'll tell you, I don't know what they made them of, but they fall to pieces. We've had so many KAs in that the seals are some of the worst parts, but flipping heck, they just rot all over the place. So if you did get one, it would really, really have to be a garage car and totally looked after. But I wouldn't and also I have heard they're very good in an accident, but not so good for the passengers. They're very tough little cars when it comes to an accident, but they don't crumple as they should do, if you know what I mean. So the passengers inside actually come off worse. I don't like the Mark 1 KAs. They were just, we just had them as down as rock boxes. So, I don't know. And they're horrible little things to work on as well. I'd probably avoid it. Try and get something a bit newer if you can. Or at least make sure it's a really, really good example. I guess there are some good ones out there, but it's hard to find. Oh, what's going on with this? Alan, what's that? Alan Wardle, hi. Love your talks about Ford Focus. What Ford Focus was I talking about? I can't remember now. I think last week we mentioned about the instrument packs with a big issue on Focuses, always playing up, making the cars not even turn over or run or crank over and not start up. We've had a lot of Focuses with instrument pack problems. In fact, last year we had about 4 or 5 in a row. We had to send them all off to this company to sort of I guess you can do it yourself, but we just send them off to someone who knows what they're doing. I think they redo all the soldered joints or put them in an oven or something. I think it's just a lot of the problem with all these high tech instrument packs. Some of them just have these design flaws, or it's just shit solder they're using, and they crack, get dry joints, and then you get all kinds of bloody things going on with the car. Andy R500. Good evening, Andy. What's the first signs of the Mark 5 Mondeo high pressure pump failing? Well, there is no first sign really. Yeah, normally them pumps are pretty good, but they will either the main culprit is the spring that sits in a little unit in the top that pumps the fuel. The springs break. It's like a little valve spring. They break, and either the car will just cut out dead, and that's the end of it. You ain't going nowhere, or it will break, and you'll notice something's wrong because when you go to start the car, like in the morning or something, it'll crank over 6 or 7 times before it fires up because it's not getting enough fuel pressure. So if your car's taking a little while cranking over before it starts, then I would probably be looking at the high pressure fuel pump. Obviously, the fuel filter is the first thing you'd go for, but there is no sort of like anything to look out for really apart from that. A grinder one, hi grinder. Good evening to you. Tazio 2. Hi Tazio. Bought a bonnet release inner cable kit for my Mark IV Mondeo. Oh my god. You tease it through the casing down to the footwell. Has a tiny Allen key to tighten the barrel on the footwell. That's interesting. Did it work? Because flipping heck, I've never done that. We've always just got a proper cable from Ford, the whole lot. And I tell you now, if you've got a Mark IV Mondeo and you want to change the bonnet release cable because it snaps on you or something, good luck. It's just a right pain. The worst bit is where it goes behind the battery, through the bulkhead, and there's so much lagging and carpet there. It's like you need to cut it away because it's all in the bloody ice. So right flipping. You'd think that by putting a piece of string on it or something, you could pull it through, but it just doesn't seem to work that way. It's a bit of a nightmare. Russ Dandy, hi Ross. Got a 2015 Mondeo 2-litre auto. It's almost time for service. It's done just 40,000 miles. So when would cam belt want changing? Car will be 5 years old in November. Well, they're 125,000 miles, or I would say 10 years. So you got a long way to go yet. Yeah, don't worry about it. You got a long old way to go. Nick Elliott, hi Nick. Your vids are invaluable to home mechanic Mondeo owners. Thanks for the time you put in. What do you use to stop alloys sticking to hubs? Grease, copper slip, special paste, earwax. Generally speaking, these alley wheels, I'll take them off, and a lot of time, like you say, the wheel will be stuck to the hub. I get a wire brush and I'll clean around the hub, and I'll clean inside the wheel bit where the wheel makes contact with the hub. And normally I will just put a little bit of like the green lithium grease on it, or even a bit of copper slip. Just not a great deal, just a little bit. And that would just be enough to stop it, all the furring up again. The trouble is, a lot of these cars, it can be a long time before the wheels get taken off. It's like it could be like a couple of years before you take a wheel off, because some cars don't do that much mileage. And if you get stuck with a flat tyre by the side of the road, one of these cars, and you can't get the wheel off, and believe me, flipping heck, some of these wheels are like, you have to get like a lump hammer and a block of wood. You can't hit the hammer onto the wheel rim. Hitting the tyre is not going to do any good. You need a big block of wood and a lump hammer, and so you can whack the block of wood against the wheel rim so you don't damage the wheel rim. But I've noticed on the Mark Vs, especially on the rear wheels, even if you've got it jacked up, it's not worth even bothering with trying to get under there and hit it, because chances are the jack's going to give over on you, so it's not worth doing anyway. You best get the AA out to it. But yeah, if you do own one of these cars, it's worth taking the wheels off and making sure they actually do come off, because when some of them wheels can get stuck to the hubs like you would not flipping believe. Tazio 2, have you heard of this bonnet release inner cable kit? No, I've never heard of it. Never come across it. It's not something I've done in a long time now. We've done the bonnet cables on the Mark IVs quite a few times in the past, but Not recently, and I've never heard of them kits either. Like I say, we just only bought the proper cable from Ford and put a new cable in it. Kirsty Parkin, hi Kirsty. Can you tell me, does Ford Mondeo 2011 2-litre TDCi need gearbox oil changing? There is no service for changing it, no interval, but I would change it. If you've done like 100, 150,000 miles, it doesn't take much to change it. You've got one Allen key at the bottom here, drop the oil out and just refill it again. It's quite an easy job to change the oil on them gearboxes. And because the oil does get worn, it does get black and shitty. So yeah, do it. You'll probably find your gear changes are much better as well. And you're sort of like, with new oil in your gearbox, it's going to be nicer to your gears inside. You get worn out oil that's been used a lot, and it starts getting black and dirty. Your gears are going to start wearing out as well, and your gearbox bearings and that. So yeah, for what it costs, which ain't going to be a great deal, just do it. Hi Nick. Had the electronic parking brake issue last week when I emptied the caliper of brake fluid. Bits of ball bearings came out too. New caliper all sorted. Yeah. They ain't cheap then, brake calipers either. We're having a bit of a problem at the minute with Ford. Even getting parts. We had the back suspension arms for the Mark V's. Took about 3 months to get them because there was and I phoned up for the clock springs behind the steering wheel. They're back order. There's so many bits we want that are on back order. But mind you, these electronic parking brakes, I phoned all the suppliers around, Euro Car Parts, Millfield, Motorserve and all that. None of them can get these handbrakes at the minute, these calipers. Ford obviously can, but it's very expensive. We got one from a scrapyard for 50 quid. But yeah, so I got one from Euro a couple of weeks back. I changed one and it was like nearly £300. It's 270 odd quid. One of them calipers, and that's from Motor Factor. But yeah, they do play up. It looks like Russian. I can't read that. I'll have to learn Russian. Alan Wardle, hi Alan. How are you doing? John Bowden, hi from Wigan. From the garage in Wigan. Well, hello there. Thunderbee 3 Martin. Been there with stuck calipers, seized pistons for those problems to solve. 2005 Volvo V50 with 2-litre diesel, Euro 3 without DPF. I think newer Mark 3 or older Mark 4. Yeah, I've had plenty of back calipers on the Mark 4 Mondeos play up, but these electric ones, flipping heck, they're a bit of a pain. Well, this particular one we got at the moment, it's obviously a much bigger problem. It's looking like it's an ABS pump module, which is the handbrake control module is built into the ABS control module. So it's going to be fun. But I'm going to find out if I can get a second-hand ABS pump and module, and I'm going to find out whether Ford can reprogram a second-hand one, because I believe that these ABS pumps are coded to the car. So if I got a second-hand ABS pump and bolted it onto the car, it's not going to start. And that is the case with the Mark IV Mondeo. So I'm assuming the Mark V's are the same. But I'm wondering whether Ford can recode a second-hand ABS module to the car. We'll find out. I shall let you know next week as soon as we get that far. Well, Truth Reporter, hi. Forgot about planes. Yeah. How are you going to power a plane? I hope not with a bloody battery. I don't think I'd want to get on one. Bloody hell. No, I'm not a fan of batteries. I think they're a pain. You've got to keep charging them. It's just like the bloody. I'll tell you what. Every time I go to this shop in the high street called Game, that's where I buy my mobile phones from. I don't buy a new phone. It's like I get a second-hand phone. But every time I buy a phone, the battery's knackered. And I've got to go to Amazon, buy a new battery, 30-50% more power in this one. But, use them for a little while. And it doesn't take long before the batteries are sort of like getting iffy again. I just sort of I haven't got that much confidence in batteries. I know the ones that go in these electric vehicles are pretty good batteries. And they do last pretty well. But there will come a point when they go wrong, and that's worrying me. I like a proper internal combustion engine with fuel that goes through that engine and then goes out the bloody exhaust. I know what I'm dealing with. I know electric vehicles have got less moving parts on them, but I'm just not keen on them. I'm not keen on anything that's powered by a battery. Marcus, hi Marcus, deliver pizzas. Yeah. Truth reporter, Hermes are hiring. I forget the name of that delivery company last week. Well, I was stood there waiting for this bloody delivery of this bloody part I was waiting for, and the guy was right across the flipping road from me. He was like 300 yards away from me, and he pissed off in the other direction. He's sort of like, I plotted him on the map. You can see him on the map. He went to Ramsey, back on himself like 3 times. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Surely some of these delivery drivers, they've got like a list of places where they'll go, deliver all their parcels in one area, then move on. Not sort of like deliver their parcels here, go here, then go back here, then here again, then back here. Flipping heck. No wonder he weren't getting nowhere. Andy Rover P6, how are you doing? Love the channel. The first video I watched was the Fiesta 1.25 cam belt change. That was one I was meaning to do for a long time, but I never had the engine out of the car because I can't do it in the car because it's too much faffing around. But I have a Focus Mark 1 1.6, and I had the confidence to change the cam belt. That's excellent. I take it you got the crankshaft pulley undone. I'll tell you something. I had a Fiesta once. I can't even remember what year it was. It's a pretty early one. It was a 1.25 Zetec. And we've got a really, really powerful air compressor and some good air guns, okay? And the crankshaft pulley bolt, I could not undo it. Nothing would touch it. And in the end, it got to the point where the actual bolt head started to round off. And I thought, this bolt ain't coming out. You know what we've done? We smashed off the bottom cover, the plastic cover, and we just didn't undo the bolt. We managed to change the cam belt just by removing the bottom cover around the crankshaft pulley, and got rid of the car after that. That was a particularly bad one. And a lot of them early ones as well, even if you got the crankshaft pulley bolt out, the actual pulley was stuck on the crankshaft, and you need a puller to pull the pulley off the crankshaft. I think they've got a lot better over the years now. They come off now, but it didn't used to. It used to be a right bloody nightmare. And of course, these were the days before we knew that putting a hot air Black & Decker hot air gun on the crankshaft pulley bolt helped immensely to remove the bolt when it was really tight. If I'd have known that back then, I'd have probably got the bolt out, but I didn't. So Bob Surrey, £1.79. Thank you very much. What do you think the 2030 petrol ban? I'm not in league with all these climate alarmists. I think they're all full of bullshit. I think they're all preaching this crap, and I don't believe there's such a climate problem as what they're making it out to be. And they're trying to get rid of all these fossil fuel cars, but what are they going to replace them with? I mean, can everybody afford one of their lovely new electric cars? I don't think so. Yeah, I really don't like the way the world's going. Apparently, I've just heard that, Barack Obama, he's been like banging on about the sea levels are going to rise and we're all going to die and everything's going to be flooded. Yet he's bought this big mansion by the sea, like barely above sea level, which apparently, according to his preachings, should be going underwater anytime soon. So it just shows it's a load of bollocks. You can't see someone like him buying a bloody great big place that's going to get flooded. So I think a lot of this is it's all about the money. Marcus, 2030 will become 2035. They'll keep it kicking. Good, flipping good. If you're the type of person you've grown up and you've seen all the old cars, all the old Cortinas and Capris and Rover SDIs and all them lovely cars in the past, and you see how things are going now, it kind of makes me sad that they're trying to phase it all out. Because you look back on them days and they were the good days. Open roads, V8 in your Rover SDI. I'll tell you what, they were good days. And everything nowadays is like zero emissions, this, that, and the other. The world's dying. I don't believe it. It just seems like it seems like a short space of time. They're trying to stop everything. Get rid of the diesels. Get rid of the petrols. I hope they do keep kicking the can down the road. You think of all the kids that are sort of like growing up now, and they're saying, "Dad, I want a car. I want a car." And what do you think they're going to think when it's like, well, there ain't no cars you can have now. You've got to have this electric car now. It ain't going to be no fun. I can't see electric cars being fun. There's no bloody engine there. What is better than a bloody proper engine you can rev and you can hear it? Yeah, I don't want to see all these petrol cars going. I'd like them to be around for a long time yet. Bobsert 1138, will you be able to replace the cam belt on my 1.5 Mondeo? Best way to get booked in. I'm not sure I've done a 1.5. I've done a 1.6. I mean, I'm sure we can do it. You just ring the garage. 01480 45 991. Just ring that number. Book it in. I'm sure we'll be able to price it up. It's not one that I've actually done. I think they're probably pretty much the same as a 1.6 diesel. But all the ones we've got are 2 litres, so I'm not that familiar with it. But I guess it's pretty straightforward. So yeah, no, it shouldn't be a problem. Hi Steve. Cobalt high-speed steel drills cut harder steels. Yeah, you'll have to have some real good drill bits, because if you're going to drill a lot of these bolts on crankshafts, crankshaft pulley bolts, camshaft bolts, they're hard metal. It's hard to drill into them, and a lot of these cheap drill bits you get hold of, they'll just blunt them straight away. They're useless. You really have to sort of like spend some money on some proper good quality drill bits to actually drill a hole in something like these bolts. But yeah. I have no idea what happened there. Flipping it, didn't we? I think I just lost the feed. I couldn't have pressed nothing because all I've got in my hand is the mouse. So I just lost the feed altogether. It just flung me clean out of the live stream. Mr. Ritchie, hi, Mr. Ritchie. By the way, can I just say, everybody, Mr. Ritchie came down to see me the other day at the garage. So thank you very much, Mr. Ritchie. It was great to meet you on Monday. It's a decent spot there. It's a shame I didn't meet Monica. No, she's up the sales bit in one of the back portal cabins. They're doing some kind of training up there. So it's just a shame she wasn't there. Maybe calling again sometime. If you do pop down again, I'll make sure she's about. Keep up with the videos. Yes, I will. Mr. Ritchie has got proper big muscles. He was like, I thought my muscles are like puny compared to yours. I think you don't do weightlifting, didn't you? You said. But yeah, thank you very much for popping by. It's great whenever somebody pops by and says hello. It's really nice. So thank you very much, Mr. Ritchie. And I say, if you do stop by again, I should have come out and had a look at your truck as well. So if you do stop by again next time, then pop in. I'll definitely make the coffee. Is that, what language is that? Is that Russian? Marcus, hi Marcus. I watched a review on the Mondeo hybrid estate. The battery took up so much of the boot floor, it was ridiculous. It is for the birds. Yeah. But like I say, link in the description to that Harry's Garage video. That Harry's Garage, he's got a massive YouTube channel and he's really like connected. He's got a lot of contacts. He knows what he's talking about. Very rich guy by the looks of it. It's be worth watching that video because it's really sort of like nobody's talking about hydrogen powering an internal combustion engine. So instead of putting petrol in your engine or diesel, you're powering it with hydrogen, and it's a conventional engine that's already the technology's already here, and it's zero emissions. All they've got to do is make hydrogen. And they're already doing it. So it's like, watch that video. It's very interesting. Very, very good. Thunderbee 3 Martin. Welded cat converter. Had a small hole. Refurbished turbo. Was cutting off. New thermostat housing. Wasn't heating in winter. New coolant tank cap. Wasn't letting the pressure out. Coolant foamed. It sounds like you've got a few problems there. What car was that on again? Let me know what car that's on again. Coolant foamed. What's making the coolant foam? Marcus, what if you live on the 10th floor block of flats? You'll need a great long extension cable to charge your vehicle. I don't think there's been a great deal of thought gone into this, because this is primarily aimed at people that have got the money to buy electric cars. And at the moment, I have noticed in they've got in here in Huntingdon, they've got the Sainsbury's supermarket, and they've built a new multi-storey car park. They have got a few charging points in there now, but it's a few. It's like Can you imagine? I actually do not think electric cars are going to catch on, and as much as they're trying to push it. Because if you imagine that the masses, if everyone's got an electric car, they're going to have millions of these charging points everywhere, and you're going to have cars parked up all over the bloody place being charged up. I cannot believe they have to make a car where you have to drive it for so far, then stop it, plug it in and wait while it's charging up before you can drive off to your next destination. That will work for a lot of different people, but a lot of people that are going to be driving constantly, salespeople running all over the place, they haven't got time for all this nonsense. There certainly are alternatives out there to this electric bloody fiasco. Yep. Truth report: hydrogen. See the Hindenburg. Yeah. I should think it's a lot safer these days. But it's the same as petrol. Petrol's flammable. I didn't actually see the report on what. There is a very good video on why the Hindenburg went down, what went wrong. But if you've never seen the Hindenburg go up in flames, because that was running on hydrogen, and that sort of like just blew up. The actual fire that spread in that was like within a few seconds, the whole bloody thing was ablaze, and it all come crashing down. But yeah, no, I think hydrogen these days is a lot safer. It is actually being used to power these JCBs. They've got them running on these hydrogen engines now. JJ Giroux, hi JJ, how you doing? David, Dominique, time check. Flipping heck, how far are we behind? Let me look. Oh, I don't know. I reckon if I got a rat, I could catch up. The issue was that turbo diesel got too good. They had to. Well, I actually remember the days when the government were pushing buy a diesel. Then all of a sudden, this old diesels are dirty and this, that, and the other. But they're not, are they? You look at a BMW tailpipe on one of these diesels. It's absolutely, it's clean as a whistle. The diesels of today, they are that efficient. They are so good. They are quick, reliable, bloody clean. So, I mean, I do remember the dirty old diesels of the past, kicking out black smoke and God knows all sorts. But not anymore. When they're running right, they are like fantastic. And even like these Mondeos we've got, which not really as good as BMWs. The tailpipes and all them Mondeos are clean as well. You can run your finger around it. There's no blackness there anymore. They're just like a bloody. You can still see the steel, the shiny steel of the exhaust. Not now, and nothing getting lost of coolant. No oil loss, it seems. Still, I have a white, maybe a bit only blue smoke. Oh, change EGR cooler. Nothing. Yeah. I'll tell you what. We have had a few EGR coolers, not the oil coolers. They can split. Then you get the oil all mixed in the water. I don't know what's going on with this live stream, but it's like it just sort of like boom, gone. I'm out of the live stream again. I reckon someone's pulling the plug. Maybe the battery's dying. Maybe it needs a new battery. Hang on. Anyway, where the hell are we? Marcus, it's for the birds. Yes. Give the birds batteries. 500 to 1,000 cycles. Well, is that the lifespan of a electric vehicle battery? Because that wouldn't put much confidence in me. I'd be kind of wondering. I'd be counting the cycles each time I charge it up. How long before I'm going to have to scrap this car because the battery's knackered and I can't afford a new battery for it? Can you just imagine? My God, can you just imagine these electric cars when they get a few years old and like Joe Bloggs down the road gets hold of them and thinks, oh my God, the battery's done. Hey, I've got a mate. If he comes round, we could just change his battery ourselves. Got a few spares. I can just see some shit going down. I can just see it in the news. People blowing themselves up. Toder and Marius. Hi, how are you doing? I have changed my water temperature sensor on my Ford 2 litre and now my temperature fluctuates from 80 to 75. Change thermostat and sensor, but same effect. No codes, smoke, no coolant loss. I mean, it's one of them things. I'll have to see it first. Temperature gauges do fluctuate about a bit, depending what car they are. Unless you've got a dicky temperature gauge needle in the car, in the instrument pack. But I'd have to actually see it. I have observed quite a few temperature gauges, and some of them they'll go up a little bit, then come back down a little bit as the thermostat keeps opening and closing. So it might just be normal. As long as you've got a temperature gauge, you can actually see what it's reading, if it's reading accurate, because you can get them little gun things. You point it, the red LED, and it tells you the temperature. You can check your temperature on your thermostat with them, and then compare it to what the gauge is reading. I'd probably do that. Bunderby, Free Martin, and I know my fuel pump is getting really crappy. I think about 260,000 miles. Yeah, that kind of mileage, you don't know. There could be something going on with it. But you would know if you take your fuel filter out and look in your fuel filter bowl. If there's anything wrong with that high pressure pump, it will be putting metal particles, tiny little flecks. I mean, really tiny flecks into the fuel system, and they'll go around through the tank. They'll go into the injectors, block the injectors up. But a lot of them end up in the fuel filter bowl, and you'll see them, lots of little shiny specks in your fuel filter bowl. If you've seen a lot of them, then you've got a pump problem, and it's time to change it. And it's on their Mark 5s. It's the cam load. Like the chromey case hardening gets chipped off a little bit, and then it just puts them little bits of metal into the fuel system, and it'll eventually block your injectors up if that does happen. And you have to replace your injectors as well. Vox Wolf, good evening, Vox Wolf. How are you? Yes, thank you, Alan. Brilliant. TED Wokaran, really enjoy your videos. Thank you for being really honest about Ford Mondeos. Well, I have to be honest. I just tell it how it is. It's like I'm not actually knocking the cars. I'm just highlighting what I find wrong with them. It's just like everything. It's the whole purpose of the internet, really, is to talk about what's good, what's bad, what's indifferent. It's so that everybody's got like it's just the information these days, isn't it, really? It's just like whatever you want to know, if you try and look it up, you're probably going to find something on what you're wanting to know. there's something out there. So it's all about information of anything really. Michael Holmes, hi Michael. You'll need a life. Sean Dodds, any idea why my car surges? Nope. I don't know. Yeah, depends what car we got. I'll tell you something though, which probably isn't the case. Some people will know this. If you've got a diesel, sometimes when the turbos pack up, they can put neat oil into your turbo pipes, and it'll go back through the engine. And the diesel engine will then run on its own oil. So you can be driving along and all of a sudden your car will just take off and you're a passenger. Even if you switch the ignition off, it's still running on its own oil. So that could be a really scary thing. You'd have to sort of like pull over to the side of the road and try to hold your foot on the brake or jam it in gear or something and try and let the clutch up to stall the engine. We had a... this was going back some years. Oh my God. It was funny as fuck. But it's like we had this car in, and I forget who it was. He fitted an engine to it, and there was still a load of oil in the intercooler pipes. Started the new engine up, and it just flipping revved like flat out, and it didn't damage the new engine. We were lucky, but bloody hell did it rev it up. It was like that brand new engine was like instantly running. But that's one of the things when you have a problem with a turbo that's gone wrong and dumped a load of oil in the intercooler pipes, you've got to clean all them pipes out first, because if you forget that, you could trash your new engine. David Little, hi David. Why would a 2-litre TDCI put out blue smoke when started cold in the morning? It could well be an injector problem, possibly. The fuel might not be great, whatever fuel you're putting in it, or it might just need, like I've done today, run through the injector coding. And there's a few more like pilot injection settings you can put to reset your injectors and reset your high pressure fuel system. If an injector, remember that a diesel fuel is oil. So if the diesel is not being burnt properly in each cylinder, it will put out blue smoke because it's burning oil. So it's not to get blue smoke confused with actual engine oil. It might just be the diesel not being burnt correctly. So, and most of the time, it's down to something like a dirty fuel filter, getting too much air through and not enough fuel, or it's a problem with one of the injectors. Marcus, hi Marcus. What is the best diesel for the 2-litre TDCI? Premium such as Shell, V-Power diesel, or would you? Well, I just buy the cheap crap. But I don't run a Mondeo. I run an old Vito van and don't care. But I have heard from numerous people that if you put the good stuff in, such as what you've got there, the V-Power diesel, the more expensive stuff is better quality. It's better quality fuel. I've heard that you'll get more miles to the gallon and better performance. The best thing you can do, really, is to do it. I know it's more money at the pump, which none of us like, but if you want to try it, go and buy a tank, buy £30 or something of the good stuff, and see if your car performs any better, and see what the fuel consumption is. And if it is better, it might work out in the long run that paying more at the pump is giving you more miles per gallon in the long run. So But it's the kind of mentality like I've got. I'll just go and buy cheap fuel because I just go to the bloody work and back, so I don't really care. But if you've got a nice car and you want to look after it and you want the best performance out of it, it might be worth playing around with a few of these different fuels. Just try it. Sean Fox, hi Sean. Dundalk, County Louth Island. Well, hello over there. How's it going? Lee McGuinness, hi Lee. I've just got myself a BMW 320 diesel 2016 as a taxi. What do you think about them? Oh, I'm in Aberystwyth, Wales. I'll tell you something. Number one, there's no way I could speak half of them Welsh bloody names. They're like flipping 100 letters long, aren't they? Anyway, I actually went to Wales once where I pulled in at a McDonald's, and they only spoke Welsh there, and it was a bit of a problem. But anyway, BMWs are very highly technical cars, and they're highly computerized cars. So they're good cars, but it's one of them cars that you really do have to keep on top of. Make sure you get them serviced properly. Get the oil and filters done, get the fuel filter and all that done as it should be. Look after it as best you can. Because when they go wrong, I haven't actually heard much problems. I mean, the main BMWs we have problems with are the petrols, with the timing chains. I haven't heard much wrong about the diesels. I mean, obviously there's a lot of electronics on them that can go wrong. So I don't really know. They are good cars, but they can be a headache if they do go wrong. Just look after it as best you can. That's all you really can do. Daniel Barnes. Good evening, Daniel. Hi, Steve. YouTube don't care what brand of beer you show. Well, there was the other week. I think they gave me a strike because they don't never tell you nothing, they do you. See, I'm a naughty boy on YouTube. I've got I've got warnings. I got a warning, and I don't know. It might is either the beer I had or it was the flipping slagging off the BBC. But I got a warning the other week for dangerous content, which was the video which I put up about 8 years ago was how to transfer music from YouTube to iTunes, and that's classed as dangerous or harmful content. So I've got a community strike. I got a slap on the wrist for that. So I'm on my way to getting banned, guys. So don't worry, not far to go. But there again, YouTube are banning everybody these days, aren't they? If you're not a communist, then you're on their hit list. Lulian Guimbasso. Hi, Lulian. Thank you very much. Paul Bond. Waste of time trying to cut out emissions if the rest of the world don't bother. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because all the virtual signals over here, and all the companies, these big manufacturing companies, they're just taking all their manufacturing to China and India and Pakistan. Well, they can get around it all. They haven't got to bother over there, have they? So they can just pollute the air over there, then virtual signal over here that they're all clean and they're doing the right thing. And everyone want to say, "Oh, well, you're wonderful," when you're not really, are you? It's just out of sight, out of mind. Jed, bung all the industry, bung all the dirty industry in the third world where nobody cares. Paul Bond, Mark III Mondeo, 2004, heavy throttle, 2-litre gear times 33,000 miles from new. Heavy. What's heavy throttle? That should be a light throttle. I'd say there's something wrong there with the bloody pedal in there. Andy Hop. Hi, Andy. Marco Decline. Hi, Marco. Greetings from the Netherlands. Well, hey, I like all videos. I learn a lot of these. I have a Mark V diesel. I saved a lot of money. Thanks to you. Wish you all the best. Well, thank you very much, Marcus. That's what it's all about. It's all about everybody learning a little bit. It's the same thing when, like I said earlier about iPhones. If I want to change my broken iPhone screen, I'll have a go myself. I'll buy a screen off Amazon and then I'll go on YouTube, look up a video, and I'll follow it. When you before all this internet, you weren't able to do that, were you? It's like you'd have to take it to the local shop. They'd have to do it for you. But now you've got all this information out there. There's a lot of things. If it is explained right, then you can. There's a lot of things you can do yourself now. Hi, Steve. Escorts were no for instrument pack solder issues. Yeah, I don't know. I can't comment on escorts myself because we never had any. I'm going to crack out beer number 2. You know, one night, maybe if I get another few people, I'll do this like a 4 or 5 hour stream, and we'll all get totally bloody plastered at the same time. Like a drunken live stream. And this bloody bottle opener's a load of crap. I wonder how far behind we are. Terence F88. Hi, Terence. 2007 Ford Mondeo Mark IV, 191,000 miles, Peugeot engine. Is an engine malfunction. No codes, no faults. You're using the wrong scanner because if it's got engine malfunction, there will be something there. There will be a fault code. It depends what you're plugging in to read the codes.
So these random knobs are calling me.
Hi, Tyler. You're on. You're being watched. Where are you getting out of that fridge?
By who?
You see him, right? He's 14 years old.
Oh.
And I've got to now stand on tiptoes. He was only down here. He was like down here last week.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
You're so short.
I'm short.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm taller than you. Shut up.
No, you're
Dad,
not.
how do I smuggle this out of here?
Let's stick it behind your back.
Alright.
Just put your energy drink behind your back so no one can see it.
You just.
How do I smuggle my energy drink out of the fridge so no one can see it?
Dad, the whole point was to tell me I didn't have an energy drink.
Oh my God. No, there will be a fault code in there. I think you're plugging in the wrong code reader. It's not picking it up for some reason. But there'll either be an EGR fault or a fuel pressure fault. There'll be some kind of code there. Overgrow the UK. Hi, how are you doing? Mark IV Mondeo interior lights won't come on when I open doors, but the footwell ones will. Can anybody help, please? You may have faulty light units because they've got a bit of circuitry board in there, and they could play up. Normally, when you open the doors, I believe the wiring is built into your door latch. I mean, is it the driver's door or is it all the doors? So, but I have had the actual light units, like the main one at the front. They can play up, and yeah, we actually keep a few of them because we've had to change quite a few of them where they don't work. Kevin Gruber, hi Kevin. Really appreciate your videos. Any suggestion why my manual Mark IV Mondeo 2-litre TDCi is jerky in first gear? New clutch and dual mass flywheel. You're not alone, because I'm telling you, my Vito van in first gear, if I'm going along slowly, all of a sudden it'll kind of lurch like that. So it might just be quite normal. I should think it is that if there's something wrong, you'd have to get a mechanic to drive it so you can see exactly what's going on there. But it should just drive along perfectly smooth in first gear, really. So I don't know. You'd have to get someone to look at that. If you're passing by, if you're anywhere near me and you drop it in, well, I'll take it for a drive and have a look. Alexander Komkov, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Well, hello from Lancashire. Another one from Lancashire. Well, hello up there. That's not too far away. Alex, what's that? Mechanics. Hi, Alex. I have a 2-litre Mark V Mondeo wagon. I already have twice replaced power steering rack. Bloody hell. Have you got any money left in your bank account? Is it a common problem for you too? I've had a number of steering racks where the motors have broke off. These were all cars that have been bought from auctions and places like that. Every single taxi that we have, which is over 100 cars, were all bought brand spanking new from TC Harrison Ford. They were made in Spain, shipped over here to us and sold through TC Harrison. I have only ever replaced, I think, one rack off on one of these taxis, and that was due to the car was driven through floodwater and it buggered it. It killed the motor. But no, we don't generally have steering rack problems on any of our fleet, although there have been a problem with the motor bolts breaking and the motors falling off. That's become quite a big thing in America especially, and over here as well. I haven't seen that much of it, but I'm aware of it. But as for the steering racks just stop working, it does happen, but it's not. I haven't seen that much of it. But for you to have yours replaced twice, I mean, was it a second-hand rack you put on? Because this is half the trouble. You can fit a second-hand steering rack, which works fine. A few months later, it packs up again. And you think there's a rack problem. It's just a second-hand rack. Paul Bond, hi Paul. Can I remove daytime running lights for a MOT? Can you remove them? I don't think you can. If it's quite a newish, I forget what year it is. It's a certain year you've got to have daytime running lights. If they're fitted, they've got to work. I mean, you can disconnect them. It depends what the MOT testers knows really at the end of the day. But I think if they are after a certain year, if they are fitted, they are supposed to work. Robert Fitzgerald. Hi, Robert. How are you? Martin Lloyd. Hi, Martin. Have you ever had problems with the EGR valve sticking open a 2 litre? Had this problem on my 1.8 TDCI, causing the car to struggle with starting and causing. When you say 2 litre, if I went back to a Mark 6 Transit, they were forever sticking. They were quite a simple EGR. They were just like a valve with a spring, and the valve would stick open, and the van wouldn't even start up. You just crank over, and if you did get it started, it would just pour bloody plumes of smoke out the exhaust, and we'd just take the valve off the car, put a load of freeing oil in it, and then free the valve off and get rid of the carbon, put it back on. It's white as rain. The 1.8 TDCIs, them EGRs are forever going wrong. And I believe when you had to buy them, I don't know about now, but you had to buy the whole inlet manifold with them as well. But you can, because if you take the electrical part off the valve, there's like a flap in the manifold, and there was these little guide bits that they run on. It kind of turns like that and opens the flap, and one of the guide little bits break off, and the flap gets all loose. But what we used to do was close the flap, and you can disconnect them on the 1.8s. You can pull the multi-plug off, take the multi-plug up, and leave them disconnected, as long as the valve is shut, as long as the flap in the manifold is shut. No engine lights will come on. They'll just drive as normal, minus the EGR valve. Hi, Mr. Sonic Advance. How are you? What are your thoughts on the inflated used car prices now? Well, it's flipping obvious, weren't it? As soon as the auctions have shut and people want to buy stuff, the prices are going to soar, aren't they? It's all a bit of the waiting game now. It's like everything else. Supply and demand. People can't go out. You know, all these. It's like the sales lot at Steve's. It can't literally go out and buy the cars he wants to get, because he used to go up to auctions and he'll buy a load of cars from auctions. You know, try and find the best cars he can get from there. But now they're all closed. It's like he's struggling so hard to find cars that he wants. And it's like everybody, if he wants something and it's not there, and the people who have got these cars and want to sell them, they're going to bang the prices up now. So it's just a case of, at the moment, waiting for everything to go back to normal, if it does. No, but you could see that one coming, couldn't you? As soon as them auctions closed. PMC, hello? I've got a Transit 2016 2 litre ex-Amazon van, 95,000, and now the steering pump is playing up, making noises and judders. Is it expensive to change the pump? I'm not that familiar with them. I'm wondering, is that the pump that goes on the front of the engine that's also connected to the water pump? I'm not totally sure, because we haven't really had any of them vans in. But if it is, I think it's like that you've got a power steering pump that's splined onto the water pump as well, and the splines can go. Yeah, I shouldn't think it's cheap. I'm not 100% sure. What I would probably do is if it's juddering. Normally, when the steering judders, it's like if you're turning the steering, is it juddering when you turn the steering? You see, is it? I'm not sure whether that's electric or whether it's like a fluid. Yeah, you'll have to find out exactly what type of pump it is first. But we're not really familiar with them Transits. we've got the latest transits out, but all these transits, like 2016 models, we never had any of them. So it's not something I've really worked on, and I can't really think about what it's got on it. Hi Wayne, what's your method for fixing binding brakes? Well, that's a general question. Well, it depends. Depends what's wrong with it. Depends what's making it bind. If you've got sliding calipers that the pins are seized, you'd free them off. If it's the piston that's seized in the caliper, I would just replace the caliper. I won't even piss around a bit. That's it. Because most calipers these days, they're pretty cheap anyway. There's so many motor factors out there. Most cars you can get hold of a second-hand caliper. Well, even a breaker's yard, you can get a second-hand caliper, or just get a recon one from Motors Factors. Bang that on it. But obviously, whenever you've got a seized brake, it might be something like the pad stuck in the carrier. It might be seized in the carrier or something silly like that. So remember in the past you've got brake drums. A lot of the time the handbrake lever would seize up where it pivots on the brake shoe. Stupid stuff. It's things that you've got to check first before you actually condemn something. Martin Lloyd, the ABS is coded and I don't believe they can. Had this problem with my 57 plate 1.8 TDCi. Caused the car to cut out at random times. Well, thank you, Martin. That's fantastic news. The boss is going to love this one. I'm kind of figuring that myself. We had a Mark IV faulty ABS pump. The ECU testing places can't fix them ones as of yet. I'm presuming the Mark V are going to be, no one's going to touch them. So I'm pretty much imagining it's going to be a case of I'm going to have to buy a brand spanking new ABS pump and have Ford code it. Yeah, and I can just see that they won't do a second hand one. The only reason I'm wondering is because I know I can get a second hand PCM and they can code that. So, but the ABS pumps, I'm kind of like, but thanks for that. I will find out anyway. I'll ask them. But I think you're right, you know. I think this is going to work out to be a very expensive job. I don't like electronic handbrakes. I like a proper handbrake you can pull up with bloody electric, especially these bloody ones that flip in. You stop the car and the bloody handbrake puts itself on. You bloody open the door and it's like, I don't want the car to do things for me. I want to do it myself. David Mayers, hi David. My Mark III Mondeo TDCi 2 litre has an ABS light coming on. It's the rear passenger. Do you think I will have to remove it all and replace the loom or just replace the ABS unit? Well, it might not. It might be a broken wire. I would check the wiring down to the ABS sensor. And if it's a case of the actual, if it's not the wiring, then chances are you've got a problem with the actual ABS sensor in the hub, in the wheel hub. You might, at the worst, I would have thought you'd have to replace the actual rear wheel bearing. It's the passenger. Do you think? Yeah, I mean, it might not. How have you condemned the ABS unit itself? You can't really condemn that. You'd have to sort of like check the wiring. You'd have to check to see if you've got a feed coming from the ABS pump down to the sensor first. You only condemn like the ABS pump itself if you know the ABS pump is not putting the signal out to the sensor. So you have to get someone sort of like electrically minded who knows how to check the wiring. Because a lot of the time it's either going to be the actual sensor or the actual wheel bearing the sensor goes onto. There's like a ring that it picks up off, a magnetic ring. So I'd get someone who knows what they're looking at, and it might be something quite simple, you know, but that you wouldn't condemn the pump. That'd be the last thing you condemn. Buy a power case for your phone. They have an extra battery in them. I do have this gaming chair. Had it had a battery pack like that in it. So when I go out, I keep that battery pack with me. It's massive. This battery pack will power my phone for like days. But it used to light. This gaming chair's got like neon lights in the back. It's one of them e-blue gaming chairs, and when you switched it on, you'd have like blue and red strip lights down the chair. And if you got out, it's got like a sensor on the front of the chair, so it knows when you're sitting in it. So it puts the lights on whenever you sit in it. But yeah, since we don't use the chair no more as a gaming chair, it's like I walked the battery pack out of it because that was a good thing. But it's very good, yeah. Greg Goddard, good evening, Greg. How long have you been a tech? I've been a tech at Vauxhall 8 years, feeling like a change. I've been forever. I don't even know how many years. More years than I can count on both hands and both feet and more. Long, long time. Hi Wayne. Battery for some hybrids are £5,000. A right sting if you buy a second hand. Yeah, this is what I was saying the other week. They will keep pushing their bloody electric bullshit, but it's all very well when you buy a brand new car, it will last. But most people who get these new cars, they don't keep them that long. And when they get sold off and it gets down to XYZ down the road, and you get all the like ordinary people buying these cars, they think they're buying themselves a nice car. But I can see a lot of these cars are going to get bought with a battery that's starting to fail. And then they're going to be stuck with a car that they can't fix because it's going to need thousands of pounds to buy a new battery for it. And this is going to get scrapped. And then what's going to happen? What is going to happen to these big bloody arse batteries that are in these cars? You can't just sort of like leave them lying around, can you? They've got to be put in a hole in the ground or something, haven't they? They're dangerous bloody things. That's why I don't like them. They're like ticking time bombs. Batteries can explode. They can catch fire. They've got to be disposed of properly. You get a package, okay? Say you have like a computer delivered to your house or something like that, and it comes in the box. Look at all the stickers on that box. They will have battery stickers. You get on an airplane, they want to know what batteries you're carrying with you. Because batteries are dangerous. I'm just saying. I know petrol's dangerous, but at least it's in a bloody safe tank. You get a battery, massive, great big battery, powering a car. Can you imagine if you get like a shorted out wire or something somewhere and it affects that battery? I don't like them. Richard Kenyon. Hi, Richard. Does Mark 7 Fiesta 1 litre Eco have fuel filter? I don't think they do. I think what they have is what's called a lifelong filter, which is in the fuel tank, which you don't touch. So I don't think they do. I think there's quite a lot of cars now, petrol engines, they don't have a fuel filter. Well, they do, but it's in the tank. So there's nothing you can do about it. So don't worry about it. I would say though, if you're unsure, totally unsure, if you ring up your Ford parts dealer, supplier, parts people, and give me a registration number and ask them what service bits they list for whatever car you've got. And if there isn't a fuel filter, they'll tell you because they'll know. So sometimes you just got to do a little bit of information. You can even ring up most motor factories. It's all on computer nowadays. You can say, can I have a full service kit? And they'll give you everything you need, including the pollen filter. Did I miss something there? S. Cole, hi, how are you doing? Things are great. What is the time, by the way? We're 1 hour 40. Terence F88, hi Terence. Electric cars are very dangerous with the EMF radiation. I don't really know that much about electric cars, but it's just I just get this feeling that because I kind of like sometimes I'll look into how the batteries are made. The metals that go into making these batteries have to be mined using massive great excavating machines and God knows what. It's fossil fuels that are heavily used to make the batteries for these electric cars. And when you get more and more supply for these batteries, they're going to be digging more for all these metals. I can see the price of these batteries going up, not coming down. I reckon the more demand for these batteries, the price will go up and then make them even more expensive. And then when these batteries do die, they've got to be disposed of somewhere. And it's like, even when the batteries are in the cars and they're being driven around, it's all very well in an ideal world. And at the moment, there's not that many electric cars on the road. But when everyone's got an electric car, if it ever did get to that point, I can see a lot of cars going up in flames. I can see a lot of things going wrong. Especially when you get, because like every car, whenever a car's released, there's always going to be a whole list of problems with it that they're laying out bit by bit. And there's going to be some car makers that are going to make cars and there's going to be big problems with them. But I don't know. I'm really not keen on electric cars. I can see there's sort of like the point of them, and in certain situations, yeah, it's got to be tried and done, hasn't it? Really, I guess. But I can't see it being. I can't see electric cars replacing the petrol engine. That's why that video that Steve Perry sent me for these hydrogen powered cars, and this is not talking about hydrogen fuel cells. We're talking about actual hydrogen, which is pumped through a nozzle into a fuel tank, just like you do with your gasoline, and it will power an internal combustion engine. And they're using that for big excavating machines, JCBs. It's being used now. The link is in the description to that Harry's Garage. You can watch that video, and it's got some very good interviews with the people who work at that JCB plant, so you can kind of judge for yourself. But it's a very interesting video to watch. Grinder one, hi Grinder. Climate change is a massive lie. Check Tony Heller on YouTube. He exposes all the lies. Yeah. Yeah. Well, believe it. All these corporations that are pushing all this climate change and everything, we're all going to. How many times has Doomsday already come and gone? We're all still here. I don't believe for 1 minute that the problem is there's so many lies told now over climate change. The point of no return as opposed to was years ago. But life is still ticking on. I think they're just sort of like making a lot of this up to push people towards buying their products, to go into buying their greener products they want to push because they're making money. That's what it's all about. Yeah, Andy Rover P6. I managed to get a Milwaukee M18 impact gun off my mechanic friend. Had it on his maximum setting to get the crank bolt. It was very tight, covered in. Can I just point out? I mean, it was a while back we discovered this. A lot of these crankshaft pulley bolts, whether it be a Mark V Mondeo or any other car, if you get one of them hot air guns that, you know, like wallpaper stripper guns that blow out the hot air, if you hold that like an inch away from the crankshaft bolt and you hold that gun against that crank bolt for 4 to 5 minutes, then put your impact gun and undo the bolt, because what it will do, it will put enough heat down that bolt to melt that Loctite, because that Loctite can be like bloody concrete and it will make the bolt come out really slowly, and you think you're going to either snap the bolt or strip the threads. But if you're able to melt the Loctite, then the bolt comes out. That's the trick to do in the future. And once you've got it off, once you've got the bolt out, put an airline down that hole and blow it all out. Clean the bolt up, get all the Loctite off it, and put some fresh Loctite on it before you put it back in. Brofist, hi bro. Love your videos. When you plan to use a better camera? There's nothing wrong with my camera. Oh, do you mean this camera here? This is a webcam. This is a bloody, what is it? It's a HD Pro webcam. It was supposed to be like the nuts. It was supposed to be a really good webcam, much better than the built-in webcam on the computer. But it doesn't seem to be doing a very good job. I must admit, it's not getting the bloody lighting very well. In actual fact, the normal webcam on the computer is doing a better job than this one. But I use this because I have to pay for it. But my normal camera is just like Canon 80 or 90D. So that's good enough for me. Graham Evans, hi Graham. Love the channel. I have a Jag XF 2.2 with the same PSA engine as the Mondeos. How often would you recommend the diesel fuel filter be changed? I usually do them at 20. Yeah, keep it at 20,000. I've actually had one of them block up at 15,000, unsurprisingly enough, because they're not a very big filter. Yeah, especially with all the chemicals they're using, because diesel fuel these days is just a bloody whole bunch of chemicals now. It's not even diesel fuel anymore, is it? It's just a concoction of God only knows what. So I'll do it, and you know that black. The filters get really black quick now, especially if they're left lying around. If you don't use the car that much. So yeah, I'll do it every 20,000. You're right, you're spot on there. David B, hello David, how are you? Dave Long, hi Dave. I'm in my mid-50s and although generally enjoy working, I'm looking forward to retiring. Do you ever feel like hanging your spanners up? Yes, I do, all the time. One day I hope to get on a plane, go away and never come back. But in the same breath, because I'm not rich, every day when I get up, it's something to do, if you know what I mean. I like to go out there and do something. There's no way in the world I could sit here at home. I would go nuts. I'd climb the bloody walls. I've got to be doing something. And when you go to work and if you have a good day and you solve problems and you get things done and you fix things, it gives you a good feeling when you achieve something. And I like to go out and achieve stuff. So it's even if I actually retired, even if I had loads of money, I would still want to do something. I wouldn't want to just sit around and do nothing. So I don't think I'll be fixing cars forever, but like I say, even when I do get to the point where I'm done, I'll still have to do something to keep myself ticking over. But yeah, great question. William Bridges got to rebuild a head on a 1.2 Polo as valve stem cells are leaking. Any advice for rebuilding cylinder head for the first time? Well, if you've taken the valves out, take it as a petrol. You want to get some grinding paste and grind the valves back in. Not something we really do anymore, but you get coarse grinding paste, which you reduce first. Then you get a grinding stick, you put it on the valve, and like grind like that, like you're trying to make fire. Then you get some fine grinding paste and grind the valve in. You've got to get the valve seated properly, otherwise they'll leak. So every time you take a valve out, you've got to grind it in before you put it back together. The little collets that hold the spring in place, when you've got the valve spring compressed and you want to put the collets back on a lot of these engines, they're quite difficult to get. You put a little bit of grease inside the collet, and if you've got a magnetic screwdriver, you can push the collet down and click it into place, and the grease will hold the collet on the valve. So then you can release the valve compressor. Otherwise, the collets keep falling off the valve, and it can be a bit of a pain. But no, it's just a case of making sure everything's cleaned up properly. If you're having head skimmed, all well and good. If you're not having the head skimmed, make sure it's all cleaned up. Get a nice flat block, flat block of wood or something with emery cloth in it, and give the head a good planing. Just make sure everything's cleaned up properly. Skylarius, hi. Screen went black. Picture is up again. Is that this live stream? I've lost the stream twice tonight. It just went boom, gone, kicked me right out. Last year I had to keep going back into it. So I don't know what's going on. Pat Kelly, hi Pat. Good evening. How are you? Mark C. Littler. How are you? How are you, Mark? In some old textile mills, you can take your car up in the lift. You probably can. Alan Wardle, I've got a 2008 C-Max 1.8 petrol, 103,000 miles. If you replace the rear brake, do you have to replace the discs too? No. If you just brake pads, then you haven't got to replace the disc. You only replace the disc if it's worn. If it's either corroded and pitted really badly, or if it's worn thin. But it depends how badly worn. I should think at 103,000 miles. I know on the Mondeos, 103,000 miles, we never replace discs. They normally last a lot longer than that, especially on the back. Hi Steve. Battery-powered cars are better than wrapping the extension cable around every roundabout. I've bloody totally. Oh, hang on a minute. We've got the Jesus fanatics are back. Lord is King. Lord is King. Oh my God. Where do all these Jesus freaks come from? You should be on the goddamn Bible channels. Fuck off. There you go. I've actually lost where we were now. Right. I'm going to have to start. Rich Rebuilds had a Tesla battery fire, very spectacular. Oh, right. That's lovely, isn't it? My God. It's a crime to make talented engineers refine the diesel engine to the point it's so refined with nearly no emissions, then tell them, now sorry, but all your work is gone as we're stopping. Yeah. Yeah. It's probably because people with more money and power want to push a different product. That's what it's all about. They want to make the money. Plum, I haven't made any videos lately. I've been sort of like really busy at work. So I will get around to it eventually. Hi, Ivan. Which of the cars you have owned in the past years you would love to have once more as a daily motor? My Mark III Cortina, any day. I loved my Mark III Cortina. That was the best car I ever had. Well, I've done that one. Kerry Swan. Hi, Kerry. Swanee Swanburn from Wigan. Mark Mini Maxi Land Crab Morris 1100, roomy inside, no obstructive internal wheel arches. You know, I remember all these cars, especially the Maxi. The Morris 1100 and 1300, they were like they were rust buckets, but yeah, they had a fair bit of room inside them. The Austin Allegros. I wish there were still cars like that about today. Bozida Bilusic, excessive oil consumption on 2 litre. I don't know what that is. I know some of these new cars. Remember BMWs? They'll give you a bottle of oil on a new car, like running in oil, because it burns a bit. But even some of these Mark V's, they were burning oil. Not all of them, but some of them were. Hi, Seed. How are we doing? Information is power. Well, yeah. The powers that be don't like little people having information. But that was the whole purpose of the internet. So everyone can have information for everything. Greetings from Montenegro. Hello over there, Seed. Every week you're here, I see. Thank you very much. Bastian from KWHBSN. Changed my plugs and wires twice, and also the coils now. Still have a misfire under high load. Low RPMs. Any ideas? I would check your compressions. The one thing that seems to get overlooked a lot of the time is checking the engine compressions. And if the engine compressions are okay, plugs twice and all coils. What about fuel injectors? I'll tell you something. I've had quite a few BMWs in 318s, petrol. The injectors play up on them. I had one. It was literally the petrol was running out of the injector, just pissing out into the cylinder. I had to drive that car and it was running like a pig. You could literally smell the petrol coming out the exhaust. But yeah, I'll do a compression test on the engine. And if all that's okay, then check your injectors. Alan 01256, how you doing? Been watching the videos for a while now and find them very informative. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alan. Bozidar Bilusic. Excessive oil consumption on Duratec 2 litre. Good compression. Changed PCV, but intake sure it gets dirty. Them Duratecs are common for burning oil. It'll be your piston rings, probably. If it's not a combination of the valve stem oil seals and the piston rings. But once them engines get a bit of miles on them, they are common for burning oil. So there's not a lot you can do about that. You remember years ago, it was quite acceptable to have like 1 litre of oil per 1,000 miles. Obviously, that's not today. And but that particular engine you got there, they do burn oil. It's just a common fact. Marcus, there's a few videos around of diesel runaway engines. Yeah, I bet there is. I'll tell you what, the engine that revved up in the garage some years back, a brand new engine where the oil was still in the intercooler pipes. Holy shit. I'll tell you something, when that engine revved up, it filled the entire garage with smoke. Like it was like a scene that you would not fucking believe it. But yeah, you can imagine if you're just driving along and all of a sudden your car just takes off and you're a passenger. Bloody hell. Yeah, it is scary stuff. If you don't expect it, God only knows, it is dangerous. Hi Mark. Can distributor cap cause misfire? Yeah. Distributor cap, I'll tell you what, flipping out, you're going back now. Distributor cap? What are we talking about here? Are we talking about a Ford Sierra? Because I'll tell you something, the old distributor caps, you've got like a little contact in the middle with a spring on it, which will go onto your rotor arm. And the rotor arms used to have a resistor in them, which could play up. But that little centre contact can either fall out and break away or disintegrate, or the cap can get a crack from one contact to another, because there's other 4 contacts for the other cylinders. So distributor caps were a common problem for actually playing up, and so were rotor arms. But I haven't seen a distributor cap in years now, because they got replaced, didn't they, with ignition coils, which just crack anyway and cause misfires. You take like the engine we were just talking about, the Duratec petrol engine, 2 litre or a 1.8, they've just got a coil pack, and the coil packs go faulty inside. Sometimes they get a visible crack in them, you can see it, and then they just misfire. Florin Danu Chibilik. I have a noise when I try to use the engine brake, for example. I'm in step 4. I have a noise when I try to use the engine brake. I'm in step 4 and shifting to 3 makes a noise as if someone hit the box with a hammer. This noise is heard in step. Well, you're probably best getting it on a ramp and having a look underneath. It sounds like you've got a engine mount or something gone, and as it's changing gear, the engine gearbox is doing that. And usually you've got a mount which stops the engine twisting backwards and forwards, which could be just like banging. So that's what it sounds like. You'd have to get a mechanic to look at that. Thunderbee Free Martin, thanks for answers. By the way, what beer do you prefer? Bitter and with higher alcohol, or lighter ones? Monica should bring you some if she gets back to Czech. I think she's going back to the Czech in a few months' time, because she's had her double jabs now, so she's allowed to fly. She's got a green card. She can go back to Czech now. No, I just like lager. I'm not really keen on bitter, although if it is bitter, no, I've had bitter in a long time. I just drink like lager, but I don't even drink that much. It's like the only time I'm going to drink now is on a live stream. Oh my god! You see that just lost the stream again. I just got kicked completely out of it. There's one beer I do not like, and that's Stella Artois. I cannot. They come in like extra big cans. I cannot drink one of them. No, don't like it. But anything like the Beck's beer or something like that, Foster's, no problem. Right, well, I don't know what's going on with this live stream tonight, but that's about 3 or 4 times now I've lost the stream, and I've also lost where I was. Yeah, Corona beer sounds bloody brilliant, Mike. I'm up for that. I haven't caught Corona yet. Well, I don't know if I have. So I'm up for a bit of Corona. I've come to the end of the stream now. I'm working my way back. This is this new tactical plan. Hi, Graham. Would you recommend a liquid moly diesel purge on a Volkswagen TDI 1.9 with no DPF for injector clean? Volkswagen are performing fine. We only generally sort of like use additives if there's a problem, if they're smoking or something like that. But if they're running perfectly fine, then we tend to leave them alone. I can't see it doing any harm, but if it were me and it's running fine, I'd leave it alone. I know the EGR valves are a bit. I take it has got an EGR on it. They're a common thing on the Volkswagens for blocking up. So it might be worth taking the EGR off and just giving that a clean out. But nah. Normally, if you're trying to get a car through an MOT test and it's smoking too much, you'll put an additive in the fuel, give it a good blast down the motorway. But I don't know. It's not the kind of thing I even think about unless you've got a problem. Monty Jasupa at 20 kPa. Thanks for the advice. Hoses were fine, but I replaced them anyway. Well, that's good. In regards to my conditions incorrect for DPF regen, turns out my differential pressure sensor was bad. Pressure when it started regen, and then it was 30 kPa. After replacement, it doing regen's fine. Them silicon hoses. I had a car in a little while ago. Well, it was more than a little while ago, and they can get burnt out. But this particular car, they weren't burnt out. They looked perfectly fine. And in the end, I just blew an airline through them, and it didn't appear to be blocked, but it solved the problem because that weren't doing regens. So, and also obviously your little pressure sampler that the hoses go onto can be faulty. The problem is with all these things, them hoses I believe are like £100 from Ford, and so's the little sampler. That's about another £100. So it's making the right call on what is actually faulty with these things, and sometimes cleaning them can just be the answer. Rest in peace, Jackie Chan. Has Jackie Chan died? I haven't seen one of his movies for like a long time. Mike 5, how do you start a car safely that you haven't driven for a couple of years? Well, if it was me, I'd just crank it up. I mean, I'd just crank it over and start it. Then just check your brakes are working. There's not a lot more you can really do. I won't worry too much about it. I shouldn't think you're going to do any engine damage. As long as everything's perfectly fine with the engine, the oil will soon get around quick enough. Flipping heck, I'll tell you what, we get a lot of them Vauxhall Corsas, and you start them up, and you can hear the chain rattle before the oil pressure gets round to them. If you're worried about the oil getting around the engine, and it's bothering you, because if it ain't been started for a long time, just disconnect something so the engine won't start, and just crank it over. If you're just spinning it over at what's that, 500-600 RPM on the starter motor, it'll give it, do that for a sort of like 30 seconds. It'll give it enough to get the oil up there a little bit, then start it. Mark Richards, anything in range level sensor throwing up a headlight malfunction on a Mondeo Mark IV. Headlight malfunction. If it's one of the self-leveling headlights, then obviously it's first thing is check on your front and rear suspension that the little leveling linkages and boxes are all connected, because the linkages can come off, the ball joints come off, and they can cause you problems. So I'll check them first, but there's obviously a good chance it could be an actual internal fault in the headlight. Sandman's Tackle Time. Hello. Good evening to you. Oh, fisherman. I'll tell you, that's a bloody big fish you got there on that picture. I did used to go fishing years ago. I haven't been a long time. Many years ago. Martin Leader, if not really, had a couple years ago and were fine for me, but have 2011 Mondeo. That's all right. 2011 Mondeo, as long as it keeps going. Do you hate Vauxhall people? No. In actual fact, I used to like the Vauxhall Forenzas. I always wanted one of them. But the latest crop of Vauxhalls, ever since the Vectra B, I was never keen on them. The Vectra C was better, much better, but I'm not keen on the Insignias. I've never really been like a Vauxhall car person. So, nah, Vauxhalls aren't really my thing. Unless they bring out something good. I mean, the old Cavaliers were pretty good, Cole. Yeah, there's some pretty good old cars in the past, but all these latest ones out, I just feel that the quality's gone down. Mike 5 Cortina Crusader. Yep, that was a Mark 5 Cortina, was it? Mark 5, isn't it? Yeah, the box one. The last of the Cortinas. I remember them. I never had one though. Andy Scott, I have a 2-litre TDCI 2011 Mondeo with the fuel filter under the petrol tank. Why was it there instead of in the engine bay? Does that mean it's not the Peugeot engine? No, that's where they put it to start with. On the earlier ones, they put the fuel filter at the back of the tank, like just hanging down there. They're a bit of a pain to change, but and on the later models, the 4.5s, they put the fuel filter under the bonnet, up by the top of the alternator. So It's just they changed the layout of it. But yeah, it's just where they put them to start with. Brian 22640. I had my cam belt changed, the full kit, but the garage snapped the crankshaft bolt, taking it out, and charged me extra to get it out. What would you have done? Well, I probably wouldn't have snapped the bolt in the first place. That's what I would have done. I would have heated the bolt up and it would have come out. But you see, I'm kind of quite aware of that situation arising. So what I do is I get my air gun on a crankshaft bolt and I see if it starts to come out. Usually, if they're going to come out, they'll just whiz straight out. If it feels like it's going to be tight, it's coming out a little bit slow, then I'll stop and I'll heat it up. I'll do it 5 or 6 minutes with a hot air gun, melt all the Loctite, and then it will come out. So I wouldn't break the bolt in the first place. But if it was to happen, which could happen, I guess, I would look into finding some really good drill bits and trying to drill it out, or drill a hole in it so I could get something in it and extract it. The problem is, if you've got a bolt with a thread on it that's snapped in your crankshaft and it's really tight in there, it's going to take a lot of time and effort and trouble trying to remove it. So what do you do? If the garage has snapped it, it's like, I don't really know what the situation is. Whether they snapped it because maybe there was just a flaw in the bolt and it snapped and it wasn't really their fault, or they were just trying to undo a bolt that was really tight coming out and it could have been avoided with a bit of heat on that bolt. See, this is the thing. There's an argument to be had here, but hi Mark, I blocked him. Florin Daniel, what do you think about Mondeo Mark IV facelift with IVDC suspension? About how many kilometers do you think it carries? A 2 litre 140 engine. I don't really work in kilometers, but a lot. I'll put it into miles. Easily 300,000 miles if it's looked after. Easily. They're good engines. Not too. We haven't had that type of suspension because all our cars are like the basic models. We don't really get anything fancy. But as far as the engine goes, they're a Peugeot, but they're bloody good. If they're looked after and you have the oil changes done, they will outlive the car. Edward Shepherd. Hi, Edward. Have you ever had a diesel injector fail or the end break off it? This happened to my engine. It was a 2 litre HDI DW10. No, not in one of them engines, I ain't. Now, if that was a Vauxhall Vivaro van, then I would say yes, quite possibly. But in that engine, I've not had engine injectors. I've had a couple that have been a little bit stiff in there, but normally with a few jabs of a pry bar, they come straight out. So, no, unless it was a fault with the injector. I've had them fail, but not actually break. Yeah, I mean, we've had Vauxhall like the Vivaro vans where they literally seize absolutely bloody solid, and you can take hell and all time trying to get them out. There was one van some years back that we had these people round that were specialists in removing injectors. They had their bloody big press on it and doing all sorts to try and get his injector out. And in the end, they snapped the end of the injector, and the injector was still shoved down the hole. And after pissing around, they gave up and pissed off. We ended up getting a new engine. Mike 5, having header is fun. Mark 1959, 3-bed semi up north, £1,700 new, Morris Minor. Oh, Morris Minor. Now, you know, that was a car I have drove a Morris Minor, and I remember the Morris Traveller as well. There was like the estate version, all like wood, wooden windows. Oh my god! Scouse audits. Hello. Spanners fit well in sockets. Yep. Urban don't mention house prices. Hello, people. Scouse audits. Urban Gentry Fiesta first price was 1,856. Modern one 16,500. Bloody hell! That's a big difference. Remember that was that a Mark 1 Fiesta. Nappy Nigel, did Adam and Eve create the Big Bang? It's no good asking me that. Brendan Brady Fair. Hi, Brendan. How are you? Expect taxis to be electric, but expanding airport to burn more aviation fuel. Yeah, I can kind of like understand the hybrids a bit more because they've still got an engine. Do you know what? I'm just wondering whether it is me, whether I'm doing something wrong. I'm touching this mouse because it's one of them mouses. It's one of them mouses that you got to do gestures on it. You've got to touch it in the right way. You've got to touch it and feel it. And it's like if I'm swiping my hand across the mouse or something, and it might be flinging me out of the live stream. Maybe it's all my fault. Maybe I should leave it alone, not touch it. Anyway, what is the time? Flipping heck, it's been like 2 hours and 23 minutes. I'm going to have to call time, guys. But it's been great, and thank you for everyone who's joining, who stayed the course. I'll do this again next Wednesday. And I might get to a point I might do one over the weekends. It won't be on Saturday night though, because you've got Big Clive live on Saturday night, and I know you'll like watching him. So I'll make it a different date. But anyway, I'm gonna piss off. I've got another hard day's work ahead of me. I've probably got another clutch to do tomorrow. But I'm on holiday next week, so I don't care. I've got 2 days left. Then I've got 2 weeks off to mooch around and do sod all. go down the Cap and get my breakfast. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining tonight. And I will see you all you guys in the next one. Thank you very much. Adios.